Rumours spread like wildfire. In the small medieval village of Eldergrove, whispers carried tales of a creature so fearsome it haunted the dreams of those who dared to speak its name. The villagers spoke in hushed tones, their eyes darting nervously to the edge of the forest that bordered their homes. A monstrous stag prowled the Blackthorn Forest. This was no ordinary beast. It was said to be as large as a house, with eyes that glowed like embers in the night. The mere mention of its presence sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest souls. Its antlers dripped with moonlight, its hooves sparked with eldritch fire. The creature moved with an eerie grace, its every step leaving a trail of scorched earth and twisted roots. Legends spoke of its origins, a beast born from the darkest corners of the world, a guardian of secrets long forgotten. They called it Mortis, the Demon Stag, a creature of nightmare and legend. Mortis was more than just a beast. It was a symbol of the unknown, a reminder of the ancient powers that still lingered in the world. The villagers believed that to see Mortis was to glimpse the very essence of fear itself, and its legend whispered of a treasure vast beyond measure, guarded by the beast itself. This treasure was said to be hidden deep within the heart of the Blackthorn Forest, a place where few dared to venture. It was a treasure that promised wealth and power, but at a cost that many were unwilling to pay.
Roderic the Archer, his aim as true as the North Star. Roderic was a man of few words, his eyes always scanning the horizon for the next challenge. He had heard the tales of Mortis and the treasure it guarded, and he was determined to claim it for himself. His bow was his constant companion, a tool of precision and death.
Baldric the Blade, his sword singing a song of death and defiance. Baldric was a warrior through and through, his life defined by the battles he fought and the enemies he vanquished. The legend of Mortis called to him a challenge that he could not ignore. His sword, forged in the fires of war, was ready to meet the beast head-on.
And Eamon the Trapper, his knowledge of the wild surpassed only by his cunning. Eamon was a master of the forest, his traps and snares a testament to his skill. He had spent years studying the ways of the wild, learning the secrets of the creatures that called it home. The legend of Mortis intrigued him, a puzzle that he was eager to solve.
Each sought the stag for their own reasons, driven by a mix of ambition, curiosity, and the promise of glory. Roderic sought the treasure to prove his worth. Baldric craved the thrill of the hunt, and Eamon desired the knowledge that the beast represented. Their desires intertwined with destiny's threads, weaving a tapestry of fate that would lead them into the heart of darkness. The forest called to them, its whispers growing louder with each passing day. They journeyed for weeks, their path leading them ever closer to the Blackthorn's haunted depths. The forest seemed to come alive around them, its shadows dancing in the flickering light of their torches. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, set their hearts racing. The air grew heavy with dread, the forest looming before them like a hungry beast. The deeper they ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. It was as if the forest itself was watching them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Yet the hunters pressed on, their resolve hardened by the promise of untold riches and the intoxicating allure of the hunt. They knew that turning back was not an option. They had come too far to abandon their quest now. Little did they know, the Blackthorn Forest held more than mere treasure. It was a place of ancient magic, where the veil between worlds was thin. The forest was a living entity, its roots entwined with the very fabric of reality. It cradled ancient evils, whispers of forgotten gods, and a darkness that seeped into the very soul. The forest was a repository of secrets, its depths hiding truths that had been lost to time. The hunters were about to uncover a world that defied their understanding. The hunters, driven by their ambitions, were but pawns in a game played by forces beyond their comprehension. They were stepping into a realm where the rules of reality were bent, where the line between myth and truth blurred. The Blackthorn Forest was not just a place, it was a crucible, a test of their very souls. The Blackthorn Forest was a place of twisted beauty. It was a realm where nature's artistry took on a darker, more sinister form, captivating and repelling in equal measure. The trees, with their contorted branches, seemed to whisper secrets to those brave enough to venture within. Sunbeams struggled to pierce the dense canopy, casting the forest floor in perpetual twilight. The light that did manage to filter through was weak and fragmented, creating an otherworldly mosaic of shadows and light on the forest floor. Trees, gnarled and ancient, clawed at the sky with skeletal fingers. Their twisted forms told tales of centuries gone by, of storms weathered and battles fought. Each tree was a monument to the passage of time, standing as silent sentinels in this eerie woodland. Vines, thick as a man's arm, snaked across the path, eager to ensnare the unwary. They seemed almost alive, writhing and twisting as if with a mind of their own, ready to trip up those who did not tread carefully. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay and damp earth. It was a smell that spoke of life and death intertwined, of the relentless cycle of nature. The forest floor was a rich tapestry of fallen leaves and decomposing wood, a testament to the forest's ancient and unending life.
Sounds, strange and unsettling, echoed through the woods. The rustling of unseen creatures, the snap of twigs underfoot, the occasional rustle of leaves as something moved just out of sight. It was a symphony of the unknown, a constant reminder that they were not alone. The distant shriek of a bird of prey, a sound that sent shivers down the spine. It was a cry that spoke of the hunt, of life and death, played out in the canopy above. The whisper of the wind through the leaves, carrying with it the murmurs of forgotten things. It was as if the forest itself was alive, breathing and speaking in a language only it understood.
The hunters moved with a wary grace, their senses on high alert. Every step was measured, every sound scrutinized. They were intruders in this ancient place, and they knew it.
Roderic scanned the tree line, his hand never straying far from his bow. His eyes, sharp and vigilant, missed nothing. He was a seasoned hunter, and he knew that danger could come from any direction.
Baldric tested the weight of his sword, its familiar heft a comfort in the unsettling stillness. The blade had seen many battles, and its edge was keen. In this place, it was more than a weapon, it was a lifeline.
Eamon, ever watchful, studied the forest floor, searching for any sign of their quarry. He was a tracker of unparalleled skill, and his eyes could read the forest like a book. Every broken twig, every disturbed leaf told a story.
Deeper they ventured, the forest closing in around them like a suffocating embrace. The trees seemed to lean in, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the sky. It was as if the forest itself was trying to swallow them whole. The path, barely discernible, led them ever deeper into the heart of the Blackthorn. It twisted and turned, a narrow ribbon of earth that seemed to have a mind of its own. The underbrush grew thicker, the way forward more treacherous, and as they journeyed, the very air seemed to grow colder, the shadows deeper, the silence more profound. It was a silence that pressed in on them, a tangible thing that made every sound seem louder, every movement more significant. They had entered a realm where reality itself felt thin, where the line between the waking world and the realm of nightmares blurred. The mist that clung to the ground seemed to rise up, wrapping around their legs like ghostly tendrils. It was a place where the past and present coexisted, where the boundaries of time and space were fluid and uncertain. The hunters paused, their breath visible in the cold air. They exchanged glances, each one understanding the unspoken words of the other. They were close, they could feel it. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what would come next. Roderic's eyes narrowed, his gaze piercing the gloom. He could sense the presence of their quarry, a faint disturbance in the air, a whisper of movement. His hand tightened on his bow, ready to draw at a moment's notice. Baldric's grip on his sword tightened, the leather of the hilt creaking under the pressure. He could feel the weight of the forest around him, the oppressive silence, the unseen eyes watching their every move. Eamon knelt, his fingers brushing the ground. He found what he was looking for, tracks, faint but unmistakable. He looked up, meeting the eyes of his companions. They were on the right path. With renewed determination, the hunters moved forward. Each step was a step closer to their goal, each moment a test of their resolve. The Blackthorn Forest was a place of danger and mystery, but they were ready to face whatever it held. The path ahead was dark and foreboding, but they did not falter. They were hunters, and they would not be deterred. The Blackthorn beckoned, and they answered its call. A clearing bathed in an ethereal moonlight that seemed to emanate from the forest itself materialized through the oppressive gloom. The trees, ancient and gnarled, stood as silent sentinels, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The air was thick with an otherworldly presence, a palpable tension that made the hairs on the back of one's neck stand on end. In the center stood the stag, Mortis. It was not just any stag, but a creature of legend, whispered about in hushed tones around campfires. Its presence commanded the very essence of the forest, a guardian of secrets long forgotten. Its antlers, a crown of twisted bone, scraped the sky, each point tipped with a cold blue flame. These flames danced and flickered, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. The antlers were not just a symbol of its power, but a testament to the countless battles it had fought and won. Its eyes burned with an infernal light, piercing the darkness, seeing into their very souls. These eyes, glowing with an unearthly fire, held the wisdom of ages and the fury of 1,000 storms. They were eyes that had seen the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of stars. The air crackled with an unseen energy as the stag turned its gaze upon them. This energy was a tangible force, a current that flowed through the very fabric of reality, binding the hunters to the stag in a moment of shared destiny.
"You seek my treasure, mortals." The stag's voice was a deep, resonant echo that seemed to come from the very heart of the forest. It was a voice that demanded respect, that brooked no argument.
The hunters stood their ground, awe and fear warring within them. They had heard tales of Mortis, but nothing could have prepared them for the reality of its presence. Each of them felt the weight of the moment, the gravity of the choice they were about to make.
Roderick's hand tightened around his bow. He was a skilled archer, known for his steady aim and unflinching resolve. But in the presence of Mortis, even he felt a tremor of doubt.
Baldric's sword gleamed in the otherworldly light. The blade, forged in the fires of a long-forgotten forge, seemed to hum with a life of its own. It was a weapon of great power, but would it be enough against the might of Mortis?
And Eamon met the stag's gaze with a stoic determination. Eamon, the leader of the group, was known for his unwavering courage and sharp mind. He knew that this encounter would test them in ways they had never imagined.
"Prove yourselves worthy," the stag boomed, its voice shaking the very trees, "and the prize shall be yours." The challenge was clear, but the path to victory was shrouded in mystery and danger. "But fail, and your souls belong to me." The threat hung in the air, a dark promise that sent shivers down their spines. The forest seemed to close in around them, the shadows growing longer and more menacing.
A spectral contract woven from shadows and moonlight materialized between them. This contract was no ordinary parchment. It was a living document, pulsating with a dark energy that seemed to draw the very light from the air around it. 3 trials, each more deadly than the last, were etched upon its surface. The runes glowed with an eerie light, each one a symbol of the peril that awaited them. These trials would test their strength, their courage, and their very will to survive. The hunters, their hearts pounding with a mixture of terror and exhilaration, knew they had a choice to make. They could feel the weight of their ancestors' expectations, the hopes and fears of those who had come before them. Retreat and live to see another dawn, or accept the stag's challenge and face the consequences. The choice was stark, the stakes unimaginably high. As they stood at the crossroads of fate, each hunter knew that their decision would echo through the annals of history, a tale of bravery or a cautionary legend of hubris.